What up, y'all? This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. I want to come with a brief pop-up show on this Hunter Biden being pardoned by Joe Biden. I want to give it some context, so we're having an informed discussion around this. This is a man that was facing 17 years and pled guilty. He was not found guilty by jury. He pled guilty, which means he admitted the guilt in Hunter Biden. And now his boomer father has taken his boomer hook self, meaning Hunter Biden, and basically pardoned him from his actual penalty for what he pled guilty to. This is a fundamental problem. I think the presidency should rise above this. I think this is awful. And also, I think it sets precedent for Trump in a way that we're not being honest about. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Tone Talks. So when I look at this conversation, I want to make sure that we're having this in the context of a greater political discussion, not an individual familial discussion. I see several people in my threads on Twitter, several people on YouTube. They're talking about what they would do if it was their son. I don't care what you would do. You're every man. We're talking about the office of the presidency at this point. So don't tell me anymore about how you evaluate politics through your own observations of what you would do individually. That doesn't have any kind of context for this, and it shows a political naivety that destroys the conversation. So take yourself out and learn how to talk about politics from an actual context of the administration and its role. I want to talk today. A lot of self-help, chest-beating folks that are destroying conversations on Twitter, talking about what they would do. But I really came here to have this discussion today about President Biden pardoning Hunter Biden and the craziness of it all. President Biden pardons his son Hunter. This shouldn't be allowed given the types of crimes and the nepotism. You guys know I have introduced, particularly to Black America, but largely to a large chunk of America, a problem with the boomer hook nature of people under about 48 or so, 50 or so. So we got these half people running around, tied up in their boomer parents, looking like big ass 20-year-olds. Hunter Biden, Donald Trump's son, Eric, I think it is, both of them. Big 15-year-olds. So part of what we're looking at is that nepotism, that boomer hook and the problem with people that have not grown up, Toys R Us kids. It ain't just in Black folk. You got this man who's a full, I'm going to say it straight, dolphin. He came from the president, and that's all he could do with all them resources. Somebody telling me to work, so I'm going to work. I'm coming to you today to give context that looks at Hunter Biden, that looks at the reality of this pardon, and ask the question, what has Joe Biden just done and left us with as we enter into a Trump that feels a mandate to shrink government, cut programs, to change America for the worse for Black folk. Holy smokes, Hunter Biden was given a sweeping pardon and is absolved of any alleged crimes from 2014 through 2024. Now, I'm not going to get into the conjecture around why he used those years, but he's actually absolving him for a much larger blanket than just the crimes in front of us, to our federal crimes as a blanket. But then there's tie-ins to all kind of little companies and things that they had set up that seem really wrong. Come on. Can I talk today? Executive grant of clemency, Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States of America, to all to whom these presents shall come, greetings. It be it known that this day, I, Joseph R. Biden, President of the United States, pursuant to my powers under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, have granted unto Robert Hunter Biden. That's too much Biden already. There's too much Biden already. A full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period of January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to Come on. All of the offenses charged are prosecuted, including in any that have resulted in convictions. Special counsel David C. Weiss and docket, and he gets specific. But this is more than just this case that he's given a pardon for. I want to make sure everybody understands that element. Again, I'm going to read it again. For those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted. Come on. This is what we doing? People saying that Biden is pardoning himself, given what Hunter's into. I can only speculate to that. What I can speak to is that through his press secretary, he repeatedly told us that he would not pardon Hunter Biden. We ran an election and we're voting under that that idea as well. So and I need you guys to hear it to understand it. A compilation of every time Karine Jean-Pierre, you remember her from the Harvard, from Move On and everything else. This woman who's a Haitian American, she's sitting up there just saying exactly what he want to say. And now we have this whole reality of, what is this?
Commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear and I said no.
Okay, let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
You've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no.
So this woman clearly doesn't know what's going on in the White House. They didn't tell her that we're going to pardon Hunter. They let her get up there as a representation of black folk, which is really in this country due to our numbers and our legacy, ADOS folk, and just be a mouthpiece for something that wasn't going to happen. It was clearly a no. She felt very professional. Well, she owes everybody an apology, I believe on a personal level, for her own reputation. This is awful. You're going to stand up there and speak this out for this man. But then in addition, what I'm finding, and there's this news trickling out, there will be no White House press briefings for several days per Fox. And Joe Biden is now about to leave for Africa. What is this? Where this woman is basically pardoning, saying that no to the pardon. And then you have a Hunter Biden that was facing up to 17-year sentence, and he pled guilty. Again, I want to make sure, I'm a licensed attorney, so I like to get into some of the weeds without getting too deep for the layman that's watching. But he did not get found guilty by a jury. He pled as a man guilty and admitted to the crimes due to the evidence, meaning Hunter admitted guilt. Then his boomer father, who was tough on crime when it came to black men for decades with the so many laws, but particularly the 94 crime bill we'll talk about later, issues a boomer hook Hunter Biden, because he hooked into his boomerness his whole life, a blanket pardon. Can we talk about it? Caller, what's your name? As we look at this discussion, it's important for us to get specific, about everything that's going on and make sure that we have the information, because everybody's running around right now and they're saying pardon, and they don't understand that we talking about more than just a pardon for these crimes. We're talking about a blanket pardon for 10 years a period. And why are we using those 10 years? We're talking about a person that has not just one gray mark on their life, who is a walking scarlet letter in Hunter Biden. He was taking videos with drugs and all. What are we doing here? While his father, being tough on crime, had said this. So, and his father, Hunter Biden's father, Joe Biden, in 93, November of 93, is speaking to the ills of crime, but now pardons his son for some heinous crimes. But let's listen to what Joe Biden was saying about criminals, but he really was in code speaking about black folks.
Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now.
So we're talking about a cadre. We're talking about them not being socialized. We are describing black folks as animals and not being honest about it. That's who he's talking about. That's who was impacted, black men in particular. Then we have this son in Hunter Biden who was a total failure, and we never make his boomer hold the shit. We never make him hold the bag, and now he's doing this pardon, and he should be shamed. A forgotten president behind this. Can we talk today?
Not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, proud parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators.
So now that his son is the predator, we don't want to go back to that video and the videos before that, because he had a whole line of crime bills. This was just the major one. Now that his son is facing the charge of standing up and owning his criminal act, he gonna pardon him. On a personal level, as a man, it was time for him to go to jail. On an administrative level, as the president, this is an act unforgivable. I don't know how we move on from here. Let's take a call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, this is Juanita. I'm calling from Atlanta.
Go ahead, Juanita. Give me your take on this.
Well, I never voted for Biden but when I tried to remind people about this, they told me I was overreacting. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very telling that now that his son, his white son, was ready to be sentenced to prison. Not only was he pardoned for this, he should pardon for everything that he may have done that they didn't even catch him doing. I didn't even know you could get pardoned for something you wasn't arrested for. Mm-hmm. This is crazy. It's setting the groundwork for Trump to get in there and pardon any and everybody for any and everything. And when anybody tries to say anything about it, he gonna point that to Biden.
Juanita, let me play like a short 10-second clip that goes to that. On Fox, almost immediately, the argument that I was making about the moral high ground, because that was the last standing ground for the liberal, and because of the mandate and everything else, you done lost that. Listen to what they say in the Fox right after
doing that with his confirmations, that are coming up. Yeah. He's doing that with all the nominations that he just made, and I guarantee you that Trump is going to see this as a win for him, because now when people start to question his pick for Kash Patel to direct the FBI, he's going to say, I told you so, and you want to end the corruption? Well, this is how we do it. We have to start with a clean slate.
They got a guy named an Indian named Kash Patel who's going to stand on this and say, you can't say nothing. Biden let Hunter out. I got to lock everybody up. Go ahead, Juanita.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't even have words for this. If anybody that's Adolf has any doubt in not their friend. This could be the final nail in the coffin.
Well, this is my only problem with you saying that. It becomes dangerous because you should ask yourself whether the white man is your friend, because that pushes them. It pushes people into believing that the alternate, which in this nation is the Republican, is their friend. You didn't mean to say that, but both of them are morally corrupt. That's what is coming out. Go ahead.
No, well, yeah, you're right. No white man is my friend as an Adolf woman.
Come on.
They'll never be my friend, and I'm not confused about that. But what I'm saying is that I know so many people that have what folks call democratic religion that use
that's what you're
Democrats as their savior.
Hey,
if
man.
this don't get them off their train, I don't know what will.
Hey, man, I think we're in for a hectic next 4 years. I think what this has done is unforgivable. I like to speak to individuals. I think that we have an interesting existence in this America where many of us, from coworkers to mates, have white people in our lives, and on an individual level, that might be fine. But on a power paradigm of race and the structure of race in the history of this country, and what the presidency represents is the pinnacle of that. You have a whole different dynamic going on where that white oppression seeps out into all of these types of actions. Any last thing you want to say to the audience?
Well, the only thing that I want to say is that this is just another example of the way this country has been founded and has been run since its inception, which is have your foot on Adolf's neck and everything else, as long as you're white or white adjacent, is okay.
All right, Juanita, thank you.
I'm taking it.
Thank you for calling. I got a full queue. Make sure you call in. Again, we're talking about Hunter Biden being pardoned, and we have this clip from the press secretary where she
When will the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear, and I said no.
Okay, let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
You've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still.
She thinks she's somebody. Move on, lady that came and move on and attacked Adolf for no apparent reason other than the fact we was changing the way Adolf's black folks see themselves. We respect black immigrants, but we two different groups, and even them, they not the same. But we have a right. She was the spokesperson for Move On before they like a month before they came out and started writing that Harvard paper that attacked Adolf. A month. She don't even have the resume to be the press secretary. How that tie to Adolf? Don't nobody want to answer those questions. But now she out speaking, saying stuff, being the mouthpiece for a presidency from a man who had mass incarceration all through how he rose to power that impacted black families, and he needs to answer. And now when his son about to go to jail for 17 years, he giving a pardon for everything and anything we might find out, not just this crime. President Biden pardoned son Hunter Biden. This is CBS News. President Biden announced late Sunday that he issued a pardon for his son Hunter Biden in a major reversal in the final weeks of his presidency. Mr. Biden repeatedly pledged not to pardon his son, who was convicted in June of 3 separate felony charges related to the purchase of a revolver in 2018 when he was battling an addiction to illegal drugs, which he lied about on paperwork to obtain the gun. Let me say something else. He owed us to do this pardon before the election. People should have known, and the people say Kamala's running. She's his vice president. We don't get to do that. We should have known about this pardon before the election. I don't even think people understand how they cheated you in your voting by doing this after the election. If you're going to do it, stand on your twos. Stand on your twos, do it a month before the election, 4 months before the election. So that way people can factor that in. Okay, so after at least she lost. I'm not saying I wanted Trump to win. God damn it, if she would have won, and then we would have found out about this pardon, which he lied about on paperwork to obtain the gun. He also pleaded guilty to 9 tax evasion charges in a separate case in September. How many black folks that went to jail behind tax evasion? I think Wesley Snipes went to jail behind that. Today, I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department decision-making, and I kept my words, even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. What are we talking about? Mr. Biden said, no, he pled guilty. You are the president, unfairly prosecuted. The president argued that Hunter was treated differently than others under similar circumstances, claiming that the charges were brought after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's case can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out because he is my son, and that is wrong. So you gonna give him a pardon? You should have made him go to trial. He admitted guilt. I want everybody to understand that, because nobody's gonna make that clear to you. He admitted guilt. I'm going to come to the callers in a second. The full and unconditional pardon applies to any crimes Hunter Biden may have committed from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. So then why would you do a blanket pardon if it's about these crimes that are unfairly? Don't make no sense. Mr. Biden did not address the pardon with reporters after boarding Air Force One for his trip to Angola. Hunter Biden charges and allegations. Hunter Biden was investigated and prosecuted by Special Counsel David Weiss, the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney in Delaware, who was kept on by Mr. Biden's administration in 2021. This is your guy now. When other Trump-era prosecutors were asked to resign in order to continue the probes into Hunter's conduct, Attorney General Merrick Garland later elevated Weiss, got a promotion to special counsel status after whistleblowers and congressional Republicans alleged irregularities in the probe. Before dropping out of the race for president, President Biden had committed not to pardon his son, so people are voting under that pretense, saying in an interview with ABC News in June that he had ruled it out. After opting to leave the race next month, the White House maintained that Mr. Biden had no plans to pardon his son. Can we talk today what this mess is? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, Thomas? Straight on from Baltimore. How you doing?
I'm just trying to figure this out, where black folks fit in, where regular Americans fit in.
I think we're in the meat grinder. I don't think we fit into any of this, man. I think it's been made painstakingly clear that the Democrats have just dropped off and any pretense of like law and order, the shit that they were running on against Trump. Now that Trump has won. It reminds me of what you said in a show a year ago, talking about we haven't even thought about or having discussions about the possibility of having a convicted felon for president. This is the externality. This is what comes from it. People immediately think, okay, well, we voted for a felon, so law and order, apparently they don't like that. So we're just going to do what we're going to do, and good luck to y'all.
So what that mean if you ain't got no boomer hook?
Almost anything to happen.
What does that mean if you don't have no boomer hook white daddy that's president of America? How you gonna be successful? If you don't have no boomer hook white daddy that's gonna basically do your life for you, how you gonna live in America? I'm just saying.
Oh, you're not. You're just gonna get served. You're not gonna have a life. You're gonna be living for someone else, pretty much.
Oh man. Any other thing you want to say about this before I get going?
I want to say about this, we're officially like in dark waters. We're in dark territory. Like people were worried about what Trump might do in terms of like pushing his presidential power. Who knows who he might pardon? And this being a blanket pardon, this makes me think that this might have something to do with anything dealing with his son that might end up coming on to him, Joe Biden.
Come on.
So I think this is just like easy, just cover all bases kind of thing, because he got that job in Ukraine as a gas board, being on the board of a gas company, and he knows shit about gas. That was clearly a play.
Meaning Hunter Biden.
The vice president, he set the energy policy,
Who's on the board? Who's on the board? You weren't specific. Who's on the board? You said he got that. He on that board. Who's he? Hunter?
Hunter, yeah. Hunter
Okay,
Biden.
I'm just making sure we get the audience is clear. So as we look at this discussion, and we're not going to stay too long, we got to ask the question, what do they think of the electorate? What do these people, Biden, Trump, and Pelosi, and Obama included, think about the everyday? Are we still in a democracy? Caller, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you.
All of you guys are trying to simplify things down, and in language, you're saying one thing, but I want to make sure that you're clear with your language to who you're speaking to. So you're speaking to young black folk, you're speaking to your grandma, and you're saying the Democrats, but you really mean white oppression, but you ain't used the words in a long time. Don't let the Republicans get out by saying the Democrats, because it makes it seem like you're specifically speaking about the Democrats when you're speaking about this infrastructure of white folk. Now, in addition, don't lose alliances with every white folk that also are impacted by saying all white folk. So there's a whole dynamic where you have to get better at explaining your position. I get you. I hear you. I just think just as bad as Biden is Trump, and I've said it. I said it before. I said it on my Instagram. Does everyone understand what this clears the path for Trump to do? In my view, Joe Biden doing this before a Trump administration takes away much of the high moral ground argument, which was the last resort for the left. And then what we saw is, and I'm gonna play a clip for you. Them making that argument on CNN.
Strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of, by, and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally the strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure by the head of the Democratic Party and the President of the United States. Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again. I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly, when it started. He knows just about when it all started. He's leaving office in complete and total disgrace. He is a liar. And
does everyone understand what this clears the path for Trump to do? In my view, Joe Biden doing this before a Trump administration takes away much of the high moral ground. I just want you guys to understand what's going on. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a discussion. Robert Hunter Biden convicted on 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses. Robert Hunter Biden pled guilty in federal court in Los Angeles this afternoon to all counts in a 9-count indictment, including 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses. He also had the gun charge. Don't forget that. This is the release, I believe, from the prosecuting attorney's office about the tax offenses, just to give you guys context. Robert Hunter Biden pleaded guilty. He pled guilty in federal court in Los Angeles this afternoon to all counts in a 9-count indictment, including 3 felony tax offenses and 6 misdemeanor tax offenses. There was no plea agreement. There was no plea agreement. Judge Garcia accepted the defendant's guilty plea and scheduled sentencing for December 16, 2024. So his case was so bad that he probably was just taking money and then just, I'm not even American. I'm not doing nothing for the American society. I'm not doing what you guys do. We go to work, pay our taxes. They take 30 to 40% of our money. He got a president for a daddy, and he just taking in money like it's gold and gold coins and shit. Russian bullion. He taking in little silver pieces from Persia. ain't paying no taxes. How are we supposed to live if he ain't paying no taxes and he got the president for a daddy? Huh? Can I talk today? According to the indictment, Hunter Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme in which he chose not to pay at least $1 million for it in self-assessed federal tax he owed for tax years 2016, 2016 through 2019 and evade the assessment of taxes for 2018 when he filed a false return. That's even worse. Fraud. As alleged in the indictment, to further the scheme, Hunter Biden subverted the payroll and tax withholding process of his own company by withdrawing millions outside of payroll and tax withholding process, spent millions of dollars on an extravagant lifestyle rather than paying his tax bills. In 2018, stopped paying his outstanding and overdue taxes for tax year 2015, willfully failed to pay his 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. Think about what you was doing during those years and what you could have done with free tax money on time, despite having access to funds to pay some or all of these taxes. Willfully failed to file his 2017 and 2018 tax returns on time. When he did file his 2018 returns, included false business deductions in order to reduce the very substantial tax liability. He knew his daddy was vice president or president or about to run. At sentencing, Hunter Biden faces a maximum penalty of 17 years in prison. Actual sentence for federal crimes typically less than maximum penalties. It's just craziness. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, hey, this is Marcus from Detroit.
Give me your take.
Let me remind folks of what Reagan did when he sold crack on the streets that fueled the Adolf Civil War that lasted 20 years.
And for those people that don't know what he's talking about, hold on, because there's a lot of people that don't know what you're talking about. I just want to make sure. Go check out the documentary I did on Freeway Rick Ross. So again, I was nominated for Emmy on the documentary Freeway Cracking the System. It's on Freeway Rick Ross, and it goes into the Iran-Contra scandal and how. And we got the Nicaraguans on camera. We have Blandon on camera, basically recorded talking. And we got some of the Nicaragua, first time ever. And basically, the government knew that this was going on, that they were selling dope. And that's and to fund the Contra war, to take position in Nicaragua against the Russians having position in this hemisphere. And then you got the young black boys like Rick Ross selling the dope. That don't let them off from selling dope. But there's a context for how the dope are here, and we can't even talk about the guns. Let's talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Congress did their part. They investigated the whole situation. They recommended punishment for everybody. When Reagan got out of office, Bush came in. He pardoned everybody. Everybody got a pardon. Well, I think
not the black boys.
Pardon was Oliver North.
Not the black boys.
He was found guilty. But that got overturned. So, me, who had lived through that period and know that Civil War, this thing, it's not even on my radar. Everybody knew he was going to let him go anyway.
Wait. I want to make sure. It has to be in your radar. Like, meaning in the sense of you get the right to choose to ignore politics, but you can't be in like, I'm just saying my opinion, you have yours. What we're seeing here is an atrocious. I guess you're using it as a term of art, less probably than actually saying it. Because you're here talking to us, so it's in your radar. But you're saying it as a term of art. I apologize, but what we're seeing is an atrocious act on the way out by a president. Really, if you're gonna do it, stand on your toes, do it before the election. And now we're dealing with this man in Trump who has questionable morals that can point to this. And we don't really, hey, bro, your son got to go to jail. He did what he did. But go ahead. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Brother, they all do it. Obama did it. You live a known fact.
He didn't have no son go to jail.
Some military.
He didn't have no son go to jail.
There was some military general that led some Congress for Obama. He was found guilty in the court. And before Obama left out, he pardoned him. So they all do it. Brother.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think, yeah, it is though. We're talking about the man's son, like, and we're talking about really blanket in terms of not pardoning them for an individual crime. We can't speak in generalities and then not know the specifics. This is a blanket pardon for things that he's not charged with yet. And this is his son that he might be intertwined with, meaning Joe Biden. So this is much more problematic than anything we've seen recently. And to draw that parallel shows like maybe you need to look it up a little bit more. Caller, I'm gonna let you go. It's not the same thing. I don't know how. I think between the aspect of the bravado of men saying, and I don't know this man, but I'm saying bravado of men saying, I would do it for my son. We talking about the president of America. We're not talking about you and your son. Then the other aspect of it's all the same. When you clearly haven't like even read the document to see how it's vastly different, let alone even the most obvious part, that's his actual son that he's been involved with in business, and his son nepotism is a problem. I don't even understand the conversation at that point. But and then we got the last part, which is we have a president coming in weeks that has a moral issue at his center, in my view, in President Trump. And we don't need you, the guy that's supposed to be basically out, not even on his way out, doing this uncommendable act after the election and leaving this problem for us to deal with. Because you old anyway. You 80-something, man. Come on. We let these people live and make choices for too long. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Tone, this is John from Chicago. How you feeling, brother?
Just, it's kind of hard. I'm noticing now post-Trump to talk politics with black folk because they like on-off switches, it feels like. And so there's a lack of let me watch what I'm saying out of my mouth. Let me read before I talk. And it's really not that world right now. You got to be much more dynamic, but go ahead. For us to have a conversation.
Hey, Tone, good to hear. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Tone, I'm so glad you played that video, man. And I'm glad that you mentioned the moral ground that this party tries to take when it comes to self-righteousness. However, he had absolutely no compassion or no pity or anything on the people who were having problems with drugs during those years. Whether it was a mother, whether it was a son, a father, a brother, or uncle, there was no compassion. Lock them up. And now all of a sudden, you want America to have compassion for your dope fiend son, who did far worse crimes than these people ever could have done. And this is why it was so important that we voted down ballot Democrat, that we not vote this man in office.
In 2020.
That we should have been offended when Obama picked him as vice president. We've been talking about this stuff for years, Tom, and we at the same place, and now this is what we get, another kick in the teeth, man. And when are we going to ever have an insult level? Because apparently we have none. We can just be insulted and insulted and insulted and spit in the face, and then continue to think that these people playing like they really not trying to get rid of us.
Come on.
I'm just so grateful, man, that you played that video, because when I heard this morning, that's all I could think about.
Let me play it again. Caller, let me play it again, just so people know, because you say that video, and I'm gonna bring you right back in right after.
Thing that we all have agreed upon, and that is, unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now, not out of a liberal instinct for love, brother, and humanity, although I think that's a good instinct, but for simple, pragmatic reasons. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. That society has, in fact,
talking about predators, and his son is a predator, and we don't want to deal with that. But go ahead, caller. I just played the video. Your take now will make a little more sense.
And this is when Adolf first started talking down by the Democrats. I can't tell you how many people I had this conversation with concerning this.
And again, because people will listen to us and say, people will listen to that down ballot Democrat. Why are we voting for the Democrats down ballot? Because you on Medicaid. Because your kid is in an after-school program that the Republican would see gone. It's for you. I don't live in a red state. It's for you. I don't have children that are in the after-school program. You don't have the money if the Republican gets in office, the local Republican, and he cuts all of the things that you live on because you're poor. Like the person listening right now, you are abject poor or you're near poor because you ADOS. You didn't get any advantage. Even if you got $100,000, which is like a few of y'all, you don't understand America. And like the amount, they said the average 40-something-year-old person in America has, with their retirement, are about $450,000. How many ADOS you think have that are 40-something? I'm just looking in the camera because they get confused and they say, why the Democrats? Because you poor, because you need the programs. Go ahead.
Exactly. And that's the problem. People actually believe that they don't need the programs until they have to be the federal government to their families who don't have.
Yeah, if it ain't you, it's your brother. Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you have to pay for grandmama's crutches. You have to pay for grandmama's medicine. You have to pay for your sister's food. You have to pay because you have to step up and be government and bringing it back up to today's politics. You vote for a small government president and think you're doing something right. Now, I would hope and believe, Tone, that a lot of this stuff was a vote and protest, but Trump was never the answer. Adolf has always been the answer. When you and Yvette came up with the term that was coined from Martin Luther King's, whether we go from here chaos to community or community, Adolf is the perfect description for our plight in this country. Yet we keep talking about a whole bunch of BS that is continuously, having us land nowhere. And we're about to find it out, man. It's going to get ugly. And that's what people don't understand. As a matter of fact, it's already ugly.
Yep.
I work every day, man. It can barely make the ends meet, Tom. And I don't want to hold you forever, but thanks for playing that video. And thank you, man, for being you. I'm so glad I saw your videos, man, in 2015 that made me finally sit down and take a look at the fact that, wait a minute, you're not middle class. You couldn't have told me I wasn't middle class because I had a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't understand what middle class was in America.
And I'm gonna tell you one thing that I think it has done for you and for many people. We used to live on our job before like 2014, and it was like you felt middle class. Now that they've inflated everything, as more of the boomers are dying, that's what's going on. And the inheritance is passing along. You are comfortable in who you are. They can't drive you crazy because you don't understand the dynamic of what's going on, because they're not talking about the inheritance in the news. That 400-some-thousand that the average person has, they boomer left them the money. Your parents didn't pay their price tag. That's why your life is hard. Now, it might have been because they was black and they couldn't. It also might have been that they chose not to pay it. All I know is that you living in that reality right now where the money that allows you to live from 1965 isn't in an account. It is not in an account. And my only goal was to first tell you, because I knew before y'all, because my parents had me at 16, so I was living in a whole different reality. But now we all here. And so like as we're all here, meaning the white boomer dies, the 75-year-old white, and they leave those chunks of wealth for their children and their grandchildren, what you start to see is that widening of the gap. Again, the middle, the whole white families, all of them only had like $2 trillion in 80. By 89, they all the white families had 25 trillion. Because of Reagan, because of Bush, because of even Biden and Obama, and then Trump, they're at 135 trillion. That is your lifetime. From slavery to 80, they got to 2 trillion. From 80 during your life to 2024, they had 130 trillion. How do you think that's going to impact you? That's real money. But I'm going to let you go, caller. Thank you. Thank you for calling, man. I'm going to keep it brief, but I'm going to talk about one last thing, the 94 crime bill. And when we talk about that video, we're talking about a whole cadre, I love to use this word, of bills, from the student loan bill to the bankruptcy bill, that made life for young folk, regardless of race, hard, but in particular black young folk. And then we look at how then you close the door when those people that are struggling because of the failures of trickle-down politics that Biden played a major role in. People don't understand. He was a centrist helping the Republicans at that time. And so how the 94 crime bill fed the mass incarceration crisis. Talking from the Senate floor about uncivilized people, unsocialized. The controversial 94 crime law that Biden helped write explained. The 94 crime law was certainly meant to increase incarceration in an attempt to crack down on crime, but its implementation doesn't appear to have done much in that area. And while the law had many provisions that are now considered highly controversial, some portions, including the Violence Against Women Act and assault weapons ban, are fairly popular among Democrats. That's how politicians like Biden, as well as previous Democratic rivals like Bernie Sanders, can now justify their votes for the law by pointing to the provisions that weren't tough on crime. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, now known as the 94 Crime Bill, was the result of years of work by Biden, who oversaw the Senate Judiciary Committee. So the man who authored, who created the 94 Crime Bill, is now letting his son out on a pardon. No. That's not the Obama thing that the young caller was talking about earlier. It was an attempt to address a big issue in America at the time, crime, particularly violent crime. But hold on, it was something else too. It was a way to out the Republicans. It was a way for low-level politicians like Biden from nowhere land, like Biden, I think Delaware, to boost their career on the backs of black folks going to jail. It was a way for a Bill Clinton to be the right of George Bush and win the election on the white folks that say Kamala couldn't get. We don't have no left. That's what they screaming. It was an attempt to address a big issue in America at the time. Crime, particularly violent crime, had been rising for decades, starting in the 1960s, but continuing on and off through the 90s. Politically, the legislation was also a chance for Democrats, including the recently elected Bill Clinton, to wrestle the issue of crime away from Republicans. I just told you that. Polling suggests that Americans were very concerned about high crime back then, and especially after George H.W. Bush defeated Michael Dukakis in '88. And you also had this. I don't think that you guys really understand like how bad your life is. Somebody in the chat said that they had some money and that all they got to do is give money to their family. That wasn't the boomers' lives. Like there was a section of black boomers that worked mediocre jobs and had a lot of assets. 1-2 houses, working at a factory packing candy with an 8th grade education. They didn't keep none of them doors open. They didn't even do the politics. Think about your early life. For all the people watching, how many times did you see your grandmama out at night at a political rally or at a voter center, not for the election, but just like for the local stuff? How many times did your grandma leave the house for that? Was it once a week? Was it once a month? Was it even once a year? For many of y'all, she never did. That's how you don't leave the door open. Okay, now did you take little money and lobby or do anything? Donate to the NAACP? Some of y'all, few of y'all will have somebody, but a lot of y'all won't have nobody in your life that did that. And that's why your life looks the way it does. So while you have that, he has a daddy who will pardon him from a crime that is the president of America and still can't get right. Can we talk? People are saying never, never. So grandma never did nothing politically. Yeah, she didn't pay her price for you to be here. So you got to pay it now. Everything too expensive. I'm talking stuff that was in her control. She said, no, I want to go home, watch TV, watch Oprah. Democrats were actually worried about that Republicans were beating them on the issue. Biden reveled in the politics of the 94 law, bragging after it passed that the liberal wing of the Democratic Party was now for 60 new death penalties, 70 enhanced penalties, 100,000 cops, and 125,000 new state prison cells. The law imposed tougher prison sentences at the federal level and encouraged states to do the same. It provided funds for states to build more prisons, aimed to fund 100,000 more cops, and back grant programs that encourage police officers to do more drug-related arrests and escalation of the war on drugs. So that man who actually brought this about, the 94 crime bill that fed the mass incarceration crisis, now has pardoned his son 25 years later, 30 years later. Can we talk today? Again, we played this clip in a way that I would see that Trump might use this thing. You had a breakdown by somebody. If Biden had only pardoned Hunter for the gun and tax charges, you could probably defend it. I would disagree with that even. Although you still couldn't defend Biden lying to our faces about it. But that's not what happened. He pardoned him for all federal crimes, a blanket pardon. Any federal crime Hunter happened to commit over a period of 11 years. Pretty mind-boggling that there are conservatives defending that. Such a clear-cut example of naked political corruption by our enemies. Sure, I'm not surprised by it. I expected it. He's Republican, I guess. I also think it benefits us politically in the end. That's what I was telling you. Trump's, you can't even use the moral high ground. I want to take the last caller tonight. Caller, what's your last caller today? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Tom? My name is Mike. I'm calling from Kansas City.
Give me your take on it. You're the last caller of the day.
Okay. My take on it is this. Back in 2020, before the election, I knew what Joe Biden's record was with black people, especially black people my age, because I graduated from high school in 1992. I come home from college, and I see a lot of my friends are doing big time because they got caught under that 94 crime bill, right?
Yes.
So I was telling my friends and fraternity brothers, this dude is no good. I mean, I remember when he was running for president, I want to say in 92, he got called out for lying. This guy has no scruples at all. But black people were telling me, oh, yeah, he's better. He's going to do this for us. He's going to do that for us. Joe Biden has never been for black people.
Come on.
And I just don't understand how we could support somebody like this.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that Saw movie when I chain you up and then I throw you an axe. And it's like, what you gonna do? You gonna cut your arm off to get free. So like then you'll be like, well, you could have got free if somebody choose not to do that. Yeah, that's what Joe Biden was. It was like, if you remember, let's go back to that 2020. 2019, he didn't even have to campaign. Because we as ADOS were revving up and we could have got to him locally, but he didn't have to campaign because of the COVID hit. So nobody really got close to him to challenge him on his record. You remember that? I don't know if you remember that. He didn't do the little like small.
I remember.
Yeah. So in addition, they basically, in my view, skewed, or you can call it cheating. In South Carolina, he was running behind before South Carolina. I mean, really behind. Like Simone Sanders was his spokesperson, and she couldn't even get enough people to fill a room, so she took him to the bus. And so what they did in South Carolina, and I said this before it happened, I said, Kamala's going to drop out, and then he's going to promise her the VP. So she traded the ADOS South Carolina vote. And then once he came out of South Carolina, he was running on heat because of the win in South Carolina. And that's when he started running in front. But before South Carolina, because he got in late, if I recall, he got in much later than the other candidates in 2019. And then in South Carolina, he was behind every primary before that. And then after South Carolina, and the way Clyburn actually negotiated whatever went on, which I believe Kamala negotiated and used the black vote to become the vice president later on, months later. And so that kind of created Biden, and we never really anchored him to policy. We anchored him to never Trump. We anchored him to even COVID.
There were people
and stability.
I'm sorry. There
No,
were people screaming like me though. There were people that
oh yeah, I mean we had a whole campaign of down ballot Democrats. Yeah, we had our conference was right before that. We had a whole, meaning myself, Yvette Carnell, and ADOS. We had thousands of black folk, if not hundreds of thousands, that voted down ballot Democrat. And again, I say that to you, not about Democrats, but about liberal and big government that you need. I don't understand how you Republican small government and on Medicaid, or your children are on state health care, or your mom is on Medicaid, Medicare, or Medicare, or your like your whole family is like on programs. How do you not know that? Because you don't talk to them in a mature way and ask them what they life is made up of. You just see them on Thanksgiving. You just say, "Hey, mama," on Tuesday. You a grown ass man. Ask them what their programs are before you vote. But go ahead.
Well, you make a good point there. However, what I would say is there should have been more transparency. A lot of the boomers and some of the silent generation people that were living when I was still coming up, like my grandparents were silent generation, my parents are boomers. They were really disingenuous with us, and they weren't transparent, and they didn't tell us what they were doing and how they were getting along. Only thing they told us was, "Hey, go to school, get you a good job, and the rest will take care of itself." However, that's not necessarily the case, because things have changed so much between when they were coming up. Like you said, some of them didn't even have 8th grade educations coming from the south up to the north to work in the factories, and they were able to accrue a lot of stuff. But we couldn't do that even with a bachelor's and sometimes with a master's degree. And I'll land my plane there. I'm not going to.
No, this is a great conversation. Thank you for calling in, man. So essentially, we're here today to have what was supposed to be a brief discussion, but it ended up being an hour or so, or just under an hour, about Hunter Biden and this pardon and how inappropriate it is, and really who Biden is in context of a political history where he stood against crime and now is pardoning his son. To me, none of it makes any sense, and to me, we should be livid about what happened. This is Tone Talks. Please go to tonetalks.net, subscribe, donate, and share. Thank you so much.